Hello, everybody. Welcome to Josh's Review Corner. I just recently started this channel, and one of my goals with this channel is to provide reviews of Christian hip hop albums that I've listened to, is to provide reviews of books I have been reading, to provide reviews and recaps of cultural happenings in Christendom, and also to review anything else of the sort related to CHH, such as festivals like Glowfest or Holy Smoke. Fair warning before I get into this is that I will only review things that I have either listened to, read, been to, or read up on. So I will not be reviewing certain festivals such as Glowfest, which I've not been to. But I just wanted to give you guys a general overview of the purpose of this channel before we get into the main topic of this video, which is Holy Smoke Fest 2024. Yes, the Christian Hip Hop Festival, and I would say the Christian Hip Hop Festival in CHH that occurred this past weekend out in Nashville, Tennessee. Me and my friend David Berzins had the pleasure of being able to go out to Holy Smoke Fest and enjoy the festival as a whole. And I am coming here to you today to present a recap of my experience at Holy Smoke Fest. And before I get into the recap, I kind of want to give a general outline of what I'm going to talk about, and I have that on my right side here. Firstly, I'm going to be talking about the performances at Holy Smoke Fest. Secondly, I'm going to be talking about the festival experience for Holy Smoke Fest. Third, I'm going to be talking about the pros of the festival. Then I will be talking about the room for improvement for the festival. Then I will be talking about the VIP experience, because something that we also had a blessing to be able to participate in, me and my brother David Berzins, was the VIP experience. So I'll be talking about the VIP experience. And then lastly, I'm going to answer a question that might be on your mind. If Holy Smoke Festival exists next year, if it's ran next year, should you go next year? Is it worth your money? So we'll kick it all off with the very first topic, the performances. Let us talk about the performances. If I remember so correctly, there were about 20 something odd artists that had came out to perform, and actually you had a decent range of artists. The vast majority, obviously, were Christian rappers. But you had indie music, such as Sarah Jurors, who was there. You also had metal music, which was from Mowgli Iceberg's band, Body Wash. You also had more melodic rap that was present, and there were many artists that filled that gap. You also had more rapidy rap, or as I would like to call it, the boom bap more style of rap. And you have that present with DJ Mike LV's set, and you have that present with Futuristic set. So in general, for the performances, you had a wide range of genres and styles of music that were being performed this past weekend. And my general thoughts on the performances as a whole is, I would say, pretty dang good. I think the performances from this weekend just were like the general consistency from performance to performance was very high. You go to some of these bigger festivals, or you go to, and when I say bigger festivals, I'm specifically talking about the secular festivals, like a Coachella or a Rolling Loud or a Lollapalooza. And you go to one of those festivals, and you'll have these artists that you've never heard of. You'll have artists that you do know, but they don't give a good performance, who are just there to cash a check. Something that I think makes this festival so different, and I think a lot of it has to do with the size of it, and I also think a lot of it has to do, more importantly, with the purpose of this festival, which is ultimately to glorify God. And so with that in mind, and with those values present in the festival, the performances that you get from this festival are pretty dang spot on, high level. So that is my general thoughts of the performances. But let me tell you about my favorite performances from this past weekend, because I do think that there are a couple of artists that do stand out as being my favorites. Firstly, I want to highlight Heaven on Earth. Oh my goodness. Bro. Firstly, this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time that Heaven on Earth has actually performed live at any sort of thing, concert or their own tour. And in addition to that, it is like mind you, we didn't have all the members of Heaven on Earth. Caleb Mitchell was not there. AC, who is the mixing partner of Heaven on Earth, was not there. And so you had a couple of people of Heaven on Earth that were not there, but still, man, you want to talk about energy and starting out your set in a right way. When those dudes came onto the stage and they kept the entire background pitch black, the lights were off, but you could see their silhouettes. And then the song comes on, Rings, which is the intro song to their self-titled project, Heaven on Earth. It was the match that proceeded to light the entire fire that drove the rest of the performance, and it was amazing. Notre Dame. I mean, if you've heard the song Notre Dame, go check it out. But when you see that song being performed live, or you see "Okay Please" being performed live, and you're in the middle of it, it is something different. And that's all I can really say about that. Because for me, I was one of the people I love to mosh. I love to get energetic. You know, there's a lot of people at the festival who didn't. There was a lot of people who just sit in the back, and hey, props to them. That's what they just wanted to enjoy the music. Or there was people in the back just talking and networking, and that's also that was also pretty awesome. But for me, I love to be involved with the performance, and I love to be active in my response to the performance. And so I got some wounds here, if you actually see that bruise right there, and then also same with on my body and also underneath my ribs. But I mean, it was totally worth it. It was totally worth it. Not in a very not in a masochistic way, but it was definitely something I would say was worth it, especially for the Heaven on Earth set. If I had to tell you a favorite moment from the set, it was when they started. So this is crazy. They busted out some unreleased music, and there were a couple artists, and I'll talk about that a little bit later when I get to more of my favorites, that did play some unreleased music or dropped some bombshells, like new projects on the way. But Heaven on Earth dropped this unreleased song, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, dude, this song, I don't know what the song was called. Oh gosh, they didn't tell us what the name of the song was called, but you didn't need to know what the name of that song was to know that that song was a banger. You didn't need to know what the name of that song was to know that that song was high quality. That song, to me, was the best song of the entire set, and it's unreleased. It's the crazy part, it's unreleased. And so, I mean, please drop that song, Heaven on Earth. Please. That song was awesome. That song was, in my opinion, my favorite song I've heard from Heaven on Earth, outside of Notre Dame, Rings, Free My Spirit. You know, I love the whole album, but those are just some of my favorites. But that song was amazing. So Heaven on Earth was definitely one of my favorites. Another person who was one of my favorites was Futuristic. So prior to the festival, whenever Any Tribe initially announced who the lineup was going to be for Holy Smoke, I remember seeing this name Futuristic and asking myself, who the heck is that guy? I've never heard of this gentleman. So obviously, me being curious, went and looked up his Spotify. And when I looked at his Spotify, all I saw was explicit music. So that kind of was like, what's happening here? And then I did some digging into the music. And if you looked at his recent singles, they were clean. And if you really, really listened to what he was talking about on those singles, it sounded like he was glorifying God and he was glorifying Christ, which he was. And so what I had found out from doing even further digging is that this gentleman has had a real repentance and recommitment to the Lord in his life. And he dropped an album called Ikigai, which is one of my favorite projects of the entire year. No question, like you go listen to that project if you haven't. I mean, you'll find that there are a bunch of standouts, but the quality of that album is so high. Cannot express how good that album was. And because I had heard that album, I was already very excited to see Futuristic live. And yes, he only got a 25-minute set, but listen, it's not about how long your set was. It's about what you do with the time that you were given. And I think about the talents. Like, this man was given this many talents, and this is what he did with it. This man was given this many talents. This is what he did with it. This man was given 25 minutes, and what he did with it was better than what than some artists at this past weekend did with 30 or 45 minutes. And this dude was amazing. Firstly, the slam dunk in the crowd moment. That's legendary. Now mind you, I had seen in previous concerts, just because I wanted to look at his previous vlogs and see what it was about, that he had done this. But to see it live and in person was something special, for sure. But let's talk about them. Each His Own. Each His Own. Let's talk about that song real quick. Each His Own was the highlight of that for me. Not just because he was rapping fast. You know, I don't mind rappers who rap fast. I'm not the big. If you want me to tell you, I'm not the biggest fan, because I find a lot of times with rappers who rap fast, when they do it, it's really the only thing that stands out, and you really don't get what the lyrics are saying. Typically, the quality goes down, and it's almost like a very gimmicky type of thing to do. But when Futuristic does it, it's no gimmick. No, he's spitting in what he's saying on that song, Each His Own. And in addition to that, to pair it with the music video he had made with it, which I had checked out prior to the festival, and that music video is amazing. Go check that out as well. This performance, hands down for me, was one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites, the What Up RG set. So if you were to ask me, hey Josh, what are your 3 most anticipated sets for Holy Smoke Fest? I would have named Heaven on Earth. I would have named Futuristic. And I would have also named What Up RG. And What Up RG lived up to the hype. What the heck? This, oh my goodness. I mean, I could go on and on about all these artists who did great, but What Up RG, when MySpace comes on and the beat switches towards the end of the 1K Few verse, and he starts directing the crowd, or he starts positioning the crowd. I'm not joking you when I say this. The way the crowd went, it was almost like Moses parting the Red Sea, and both sides of the crowd were on one side, and it was going to be the biggest mosh that you've ever seen. And that moment to me is probably, that from just the weekend, that's a top 3 moment from the weekend. That might be my favorite moment from the weekend, was the performance of MySpace. In fact, it was so crazy, and he was so concerned about it, he had to run it back. So he did run it back, which was insane. So What Up RG was definitely one of my favorites for me, specifically the moment he had with MySpace, specifically the moment he had with Hollywood. Just an amazing set and an amazing performance. Some other people's performances that stood out to me, obviously Miles Minnick. Miles Minnick was amazing. Miles Minnick was really dang amazing. Andy Mineo's set is amazing, and I'll actually get into more of that when I talk more about my surprises, the sets that really surprised me and really over exceeded my expectations. But Andy Mineo's set was a favorite. John Keith said, okay, let's talk about John Keith. So I'm a humongous John Keith fan. I'm coming out the gate and just telling you that right now. I am a huge John Keith fan. The shirt that I wore to the concert day one was the Airmo shirt when he had an exclusive and a limited drop for that. I am a humongous fan of Airmos. The only question I really have for John and the only thing that I'm really disappointed on with John is, like, where's the vinyl, bro? Where is the vinyl? Like, where is the Airmos vinyl, bro? That's the only thing I'm asking for, John. All I need in my life is a pink vinyl of Airmos. That's all I need. Listen, that's all I need. But as far as this weekend, chef's kiss. He did something that I was not expecting. So, he has the Eremos project, but then he also had the Eremos Experience project. I would call it the Eremos B-sides project that came after that. And so I'm thinking, he's going to perform probably the B-sides, because even after the B-sides, there were more songs that dropped, such as Man Down, such as Numb, such as Bags, such as God's Hand, which was the penultimate song. But you catch my drift. This is where I'm thinking the direction of his set is going to go. John essentially told me when he came out to perform, Josh, shut up for a second and let me blow your mind. Because this dude not only did, and he did perform post Eremos cuts, and he did perform one Eremos cut, Chose, which, I mean, if you went back to the Creative Control podcast that John Keith did with No Big Deal, you might remember that he says that Chose is the song that goes up the hardest in the concert. So Chose is almost like a given in any concert, but he really didn't touch the Eremos bag that much. He touched Uninvited, which, oh my gosh, I wish he would have let Uninvited go out to the Wande part where you have the heavy guitar come in. But still, I really did love Uninvited. But what he did was so mind-blowing. He took us back out the gate to Anti-Hero. He took us back to Limitless, and he took us back to that era of John Keith, and then proceeded to take us back even further into Olympus and performed David and performed Bag. Essentially, the whole theme of his and the message that he was going for was, and I loved it because he actually had a storyline with his set performance. There would be this butterfly that would show up on screen, and essentially the butterfly. I'm sorry, I'm too excited here, guys. The butterfly and John Keith are saying, we're still making our way to the lonely place. We're still on our journey to the lonely place. Essentially saying that all these other albums and songs I'm performing are prequels to Eremos, are on the way to Eremos, naturally because they came beforehand, and also because those songs just kind of fit the theme. So that was just the storyline, the performances, obviously God's Hand is amazing. Everybody Else is amazing. Everybody Else is by the way, even though Everybody Else is on that B-Sides project, I don't think people realize that song was actually on Summertime in the Village. So that's also a pre-Eremos cut. But John Keith's performance, I'm a stan, dude. I'm biased. I love John Keith. And for John Keith to blow my mind and absolutely throw all of my predictions out of the water and then say, Josh, just watch me be great, was something that I really did not expect, and it did blow me out of the water. It blew me away. What a performance from John Keith. What a performance. Another one I really liked Tripoli. I really like Tripoli. I thought his performance was great. And then outside of that, I would say the last one I would list as a favorite, and this one truly is a favorite. This is my first time seeing him perform live. I wasn't able to go, because if you remember, Holvey had the Beautiful tour, but when he did the East Coast part of the leg, the artists he had took on tour were Tori Deshawn and Big Breeze. I got to meet Tori Deshawn, I got to meet Big Breeze, I got to meet Holvey. That was a wonderful concert. But he saved the sauce for the West Coast. And who was on that West Coast side of the tour? Oh, Not Clyde. Bro, why didn't you give us Not Clyde, bro? Holvey. But besides the point, ever since that happened, I have been looking forward to, and ever since I saw what the festival lineup was going to be, I have been looking forward to seeing Not Clyde perform. And Not Clyde did not disappoint. I'm sorry for the corny line there, but I had to. But Not Clyde did not disappoint. Not Clyde was excellent. One of my favorite moments from that set that stands out was he was talking about how he's from Canada, and the crowd and me started chanting USA. And then he did a song later, and then at the end of the song, he started speaking in a foreign language, and he's like, USA, USA, and it's like, oh gosh, it was so funny. It was genuinely one of the it's probably the funniest moment from the weekend for me. It's the one that stands out in my brain. And then, obviously, something I really loved about his set was him explaining the concept of I Love NK, which is his most recent album that he dropped at the very beginning of the year in January. Because here's the thing, I've listened to that project many a times. That's probably one of my most listened to projects of 2024. And I know that he was trying to say something on that album, but I just never could get down what the concept was or what he's trying to necessarily convey, or if it's just individual songs that he's put together. But when he started talking about the concept of this album, that was like some preaching that he was doing there. And that spoke to me. Like when he said, if you knew me like I know me, would you still love me? Essentially saying, if you knew NK like I know NK, would you still love NK? And then when he said that, everything about the album made sense. Like the intro song made sense. Because if you remember the intro, but they don't know me, like that whole lyrical inflection on the first half of the first song, it all makes sense. And then the whole album is a continuation of that theme of not really knowing NK and how Jesus does know the real NK, and it ends with afresh. And Jesus does love NK even though he knows NK, because that's that unconditional love of Jesus Christ. That's that John 3:16 love. And so that was an amazing moment. And I mean, KB was excellent. There was a whole many people, but those were just my favorites. Like I said, so remember, my favorites, Heaven on Earth, Not Clyde, John Keith, Futuristic, and Andy Mineo. But I'll talk more about Andy Mineo in a second. In fact, I'm going to talk about Andy Mineo right now. So those were my favorites, but let's talk about the surprises. Now, you might be shocked for me to say that Andy Mineo was a surprise for me. But I want you to know this about my thoughts on Andy Mineo. For me, in my part of my testimony is all I used to listen to was secular rap. And a big reason for that was because that's all I cared to listen to. That's all my mind was focused on. And also another big reason for why I would never listen to CHH or Christian rap was because I thought it was corny and I thought it sounded bad. One of those people who I thought was corny was Andy Mineo, just being very real with you. And so I knew he had dropped Neverland 2 because that was one of the first albums he had dropped. And I knew like when I listened to that album, it changed all my perceptions about Andy Mineo. It Could Be Worse is one of my favorite songs ever. And in fact, that song has gotten me through many a hard time in my life because what it keeps my focus on is God and the fact that, you know what I'm going through right now is bad, but it could be so much worse. And I praise God for that. And I continue to worship God through it all and give him the glory. And so Andy Mineo's new stuff is amazing. But I was interested in seeing, like, how is this going to play out in a concert setting? Like, how is this going to play out in a concert setting? Because I don't know how it's going to go. Well, he comes out the gate, and immediately from the very first moment he comes out in this WWE type style. He hits an RKO on this fake security guy. He does a dive from the top ropes on this fake security guy. It was hilarious. But then he gets into a set, and he comes right out the gate, coming in hot. He literally comes in hot. Comes like double entendre action in real life. But to start off the set that way and continue that momentum was insane. And then probably my favorite moment from the whole weekend, because something I actually did like from Andy Mineo prior to 2021 was his project he did with Words Played, Magic and Bird. When he brought out Words Played to that concert, you can ask my friend David Bursons what I did. I immediately rushed into the mosh pit and was getting crazy up in there because I wasn't finna sit back for that. That's one of my favorite things. The song Magic and Bird or Dunk Contest is one of my favorite songs ever. Kids is one of my favorite songs by Andy Mineo ever. So of course I'm going to. But that wasn't the crazy moment. That was already crazy that he brought out Words Played. And they were in these ridiculous muscle suits, like these ridiculous muscle suits that were also pretty dang funny. But the bombshell was when he said he was dropping new music with Words Played, and then he also played us 2 unreleased songs. He played Cybertruck, or did he play 2 unreleased songs? He definitely played Cybertruck, which was a song with Words Played, but I swear he also played another, I think it was Tassel Loafers is what he called it. Tassel Loafers and the Cybertruck, that was insane. And then obviously Words Played walked off, and Words Played dropped the bomb that, hey, I'm back. Hey, I'm dropping new music. Hey, I'm looking forward to some new Words Played. And then when Andy Mineo continued on, Andy Mineo just gave a very heartfelt testimony at the end. Man, just praying for that dude, Andy Mineo, in his faith walk. Dude has done so much for the scene, for CHH, cannot deny that. But we also have to remember that, hey, yeah, these dudes are artists, and yeah, they do put out art. But these people are real people at the end of the day, and they go through real struggles. They go through real faith struggles. And we just have to continue to encourage them to pursue the Lord and through it all, and continue to be that beacon of light. So I just want to say thank you to Andy Mineo for just being so transparent and being honest about what he's been going through. So thank you. But another thing he did at the very end is he dropped some new music. He dropped this song called Wi-Fi, and it's unreleased. But he said it could drop in a couple weeks. So it may be in a couple weeks it'll be there. But he dropped a Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is a banger. Wi-Fi is a banger. I'm looking forward to Wi-Fi now. I'm looking forward to whatever Andy Mineo has to drop now. Andy Mineo has risen based off the merit of that performance alone, has risen really high in people I expect to drop. People who I look forward to dropping new music. Andy Mineo has moved up that list. And I wouldn't even say moved up the list. He shot up the list. I'm looking forward to Andy Mineo's new music. And I hope you are too. So that was my biggest surprise from the weekend. And there were other surprises. I would say to some degree, I don't want to say Miles Minnick is a surprise because I think Miles Minnick's always going to be good. But for me, being the first time seeing Miles Minnick in person, and even though I listen to his music, man, that dude is so special live. He is so special live, and for him to have the live band, it was really great. But the other surprise that was a genuine surprise for me was Aaron Cole. So I had listened to Aaron Cole's new album, and I loved Aaron Cole's new album. I love the first song. I love the beat switch in the first song. I love there's something about the name. I'm sorry, that's my best singing impression. I know my singing's trash, but listen, that's the only way I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So I love that whole entire album. Everything about that album is great. There's something always. I can't even remember the lyrics, but that song Infinity is one of my favorite cuts off of the Aaron Cole project. And what impressed me and what was so surprising about his performance is he actually had a live drummer with his stuff, and it just added so much. It just added so much, and Aaron Cole's performance was immaculate. If you hadn't heard Aaron Cole's newest album, go check it out. And if you hadn't heard Aaron Cole's music in general, go check out his new music. And if I could start you anywhere, please go start. Please go start at the newest album. I think that's his best stuff, and I think that's the stuff that's going to make you a fan of Aaron Cole. And it was the stuff that surprised me at the Holy Smoke Fest 2024. So those were some of my surprises. And now this last category, I want to make myself very clear when I mention this last category. And I'm also going to be very transparent about this. For this last category, I want to use this as a time to encourage this artist. And I want to use this as a time to encourage these artists, but also just in general to say that this is not me trying to tear you down. I really mean it. Like, that is not my heart behind it. That is not my goal in life, is not to tear the kingdom down. My goal is to bring unity. My goal is to pursue peace. And ultimately, my goal is to help out. And if the Lord puts me in a position to try and push artists or push people, not artists, my apologies there, to encourage people and to push people in their walks to where they grow even more in their walk. And I hope I can do that with just the performance that happened over the weekend. And so this category, I named it performances where I had very high expectations, but they didn't quite live up to those expectations. I don't like using the word underwhelmed because that word just sounds so mean. But I will say there was just performances for me that where I was expecting so much, and that's on me too. Listen, that's on me. I expect a lot because I heard so many great things, and I really did want to see a great performance. And I do think there were parts of it that were great, but ultimately they didn't hit the way I thought they would. One of these people was Sarah Jures. I'll tell you about Sarah Jures. So I actually want to go back and reference the Creative Control podcast. I want to start out on a funny note. When No Big Deal was interviewing her, I think No Big Deal called her Ellen DeGeneres or Ellen DeGeneres-esque. That was so apparent to me when Sarah Jures was performed. Sarah Jures has some big Ellen DeGeneres energy. That is a fact. That's a fact. She just do. She was doing stuff like on stage where I'm like, I swear that's some Ellen. She would randomly dancing. She would randomly put her back up against her guitar player. I was like, oh, crap. That crap's crazy. But, Sarah Jures, and this is me being honest with you. So I didn't get to catch a lot of Sarah Jures' set. I only got to really catch the last 3 songs of Sarah Jures' set. The reason I didn't get to catch the beginning part, which I'll get to later, was because my feet were killing me. But like I said, I'll talk more about that later. I was standing on my feet for a large portion of the day. I was hungry. I needed to get food, and I needed to ultimately get off my feet because my feet felt like bricks. So I was only able to catch the last 3 songs of Sarah Jures, and the very last song of Sarah Jures was excellent. Oh my goodness, can I say that? The very last song that Sarah Jures performed and closed off with was one of my favorite songs probably from the entire festival. I'm not really familiar with her music, but I am familiar with her from the No Big Deal Creative Control podcast, and No Big Deal constantly hypes up her, and so does John Keith, constantly hypes up Sarah Jures as this amazing performer and just amazing artist, which she is an amazing artist. She is an amazing artist. She has been gifted by God to make music. And she is definitely expressing that gift, and it is something to see. And that last song was just like the culmination of that gift of being used to its fullest in front of a live audience. But I do want to say this. I just think because you're saying, Josh, well, you're saying a whole lot of niceties. Well, what was so underwhelming about it? Here's where I think it was, and that's why I say I don't want to use the word underwhelming. I just want to say it doesn't live up to expectation. My own expectation, not like an objective expectation, like my high expectation. It was still really dang good, but it just wasn't at my I thought it was going to be a top 5 set of the weekend. She was just so nervous up there. And I part of me felt really, really bad. And part of me was just like, oh man, I really hope she gets through this, because towards the end of her set, second to last song, she had forgotten some lyrics that she was performing. And in general, with just looking at her energy, looking at the way she was talking, I think it was really obvious that she was nervous, and that she even she was having a great time, and I was happy that she was having a good time. But I was also just, empathizing with her while she was on stage. Like, man, she just looks so nervous, and I just hope that she can get through this and continue to put on a good performance. And man, she pulled herself together really strong at the end there. And so I'm just really proud of Sarah Jures. But that's just one of those sets for me that it didn't live up to expectations. But hey, can I tell you something real quick? I bet you the next time when I go next year to Holy Smoke Fest, which, spoiler, I'm going to go next year. So we'll answer that question later, though, and I'll give some more explanation why. But if I were to go next year, and if I do go next year, I hope to see Sarah Jures there, because I think Sarah Jures is excellent. I think Sarah Jures is top notch. So that is someone I'll always continue looking forward to. I'll also continue looking forward to seeing the new music she releases. So that's one person for me who I think I just had maybe way too high expectation for. Another person that I wanted to say, who I actually, you might say, why do you have such a high expectation for this person? I had a high expectation because for Two Live Bree. When I had heard the Holy Smoke sessions, if you recall the Holy Smoke sessions prior to the festival, posted on the YouTube page of Holy Smoke, Two Light Breeze was the second one posted, and it was Butterfly. And that song is amazing. That song is amazing, amazing, amazing. I don't think he's actually released. He didn't release that song throughout Holy Smoke Sessions. He might have released it by now. I also didn't know, because we actually, me and my friend David, met this gentleman Ben at the festival. Really cool guy. But he's a local Nashville guy, and he was telling us that Two Light Bree was a local guy from Nashville. So that was something that definitely added some context for me. But with Two Light Bree, my only thing I would say about that really didn't hit my expectation is, in a lot of rap concerts that you watch, just in general, when I was in the world, like I went to a Young Thug concert back in 2016 with Lil Yachty and Rich the Kid. I know that sounds insane, but it was called the High Tune Store. Young Thug did a lot of lip sync. Like, Young Thug let the track rap a lot of times. And for me, that's always been a big pet peeve. I'm not a big fan of when people utilize the track a lot. If you're gonna let your track rap for you or sing for you, you really got to be doing something else. Like, you got to be bringing energy, you got to be dancing, you got to be doing something to make up for that fact. Because if that's what we're going to be doing, then I could just be listening to this song on Spotify and it's going to accomplish the same purposes. That's kind of how I feel about it. And I felt like there was definitely parts, like when he performed Butterfly, he sung it. When he performed certain other songs, he rapped it. But I felt like there was a lot of times where he let the track play, and the track dictated a lot of it. And so that would be my only other thing where I said I had really high expectations, and mind you, that's my fault. But it just, to me, did not hit that expectation. But overall, that's all of that, the generalized aspect of the performances, my favorites, the surprises, maybe they didn't live up to expectations, but they were still good. My overall thoughts on it were the performances at Holy Smoke were amazing. I mean, there are so many more people I did not mention. 1K Fuse set is a standout. 350 set is a standout. Triple E set is a standout. Tory Deshawn set is a standout. Shua's set is a standout. You catching my drift? Oh, and I didn't mention this on my favorites, and I probably should have, because it was my favorite set of 2024 at Holy Smoke Fest, and I cannot believe I did not mention it. Eclesso's set was nuts. It was nuts. Honest to goodness, I think Eclesso went to the upper room for that set. You might be saying, what do you mean he went to the... I think he went to the upper room because that thing was off limits, bro. That was off limits. Like, you cannot do that. How are you going to come out there and perform that unreleased song? Look, how are you going to come out there and perform that other unreleased song? I don't know what the other song was called, but that song was crazy. That song was nuts. I kind of wanted to ask him afterward, hey, bro, can you send that my way? You know what I'm saying? Can you just give me something? Give me a taste. Give me just a little taste. I really want that song. That song is amazing. But Black Klansman. Oh, you want to talk about moshing? You want to talk about like where I got a lot of these bruises and why I'm looking like a banana this morning? A lot of that has to do with that Eclesso set. That's all I'll say there. Black Klansman went off. Went off. Go down the list. Help is, first off, can I say Help is one of my favorite songs, period, of 2024. Or not 2024, sorry, 2023. It's one of my favorite Christian rap songs, period, though, in general. But to see him even perform live is just another level. It's just another level. That's one of those dudes where I think he should have got a longer set. Eclesso needs to be given a longer set, man. Like, dude needs longer than 25 minutes, bruh. Like, a legendary moment of that set was when we opened up the mosh pit. I don't remember if it was exactly for Black Klansman. I think it might have been. And we opened it up, and that dude jumped from the main stage into the crowd and was walking on the ground. Insane stuff. What a dude. What a performance. Eclesso, amazing. So, like I said, I can continue going down that list and talking about all the other people who were amazing and did a great job. No big deal. Indie Tribe, KB. But listen, dude, I really, like I said, I think I've covered all my bases on the performances, the favorite surprises, and then, like I said, the expectations. So that's it for the performance section. Now I want to take you to the festival experience. So what exactly all happens at Holy Smoke Fest? Well, since this was my first one, I was really looking forward to seeing how it operates on the whole. And if I had to tell you, yeah, the performances are definitely something to go to Holy Smoke Fest for. But if I were to tell you the thing that rates probably the number one on my list for reasons you need to go to Holy Smoke Fest, it is the festival experience itself. Now let me break this down for you. Firstly, you catching this? Firstly, you as a fan gets to meet all of these artists. Now you might say, well, they don't have a meet and greet for all the artists. They only have a meet and greet for any tribe, and that's you have to be a VIP. No, check this out. They have merch booths for each individual artist who brings merch. And at the merch booth, after the artist gets done performing, they go to the merch booth. And you actually get a chance to talk and meet and just it could be about whatever. You get to meet and greet with those artists and talk about life and talk about music and do anything you want to. And that to me is probably, and guess what? There are artists just walking around the venue just all over the place, in the lobby, in the back of the venue. There was a cipher that happens for the VIP experience, and there was artists like Abel and Gavin the Hot Rod and Young Drew, and I could go down the list, right? All these artists were just walking around. In fact, I had some really good experiences meeting artists. Like, for example, for me, I was able to talk with No Big Deal. I was able to talk with What Up RG. I was able to talk with Eclesso. I was able to talk with Abel. I was able to talk with Futuristic. I was able to dap up Mowgli. I was able, you go down, you see it, you catch it, what I'm saying. I was able to meet all these people. Just walking around, just going to their merch day, just going to their booths. That was awesome. I got to tell, and I want to shout out some of those guys specifically. I really want to shout out Futuristic. I really want to shout out Eclesso. I really want to shout out What Up RG. Man. And I want to shout out Abel. I can't forget about Abel. Abel was the guy I talked to the most throughout this weekend, and he was awesome. Oh, and how can I forget Nate Rose, bro? Nate Rose was awesome to talk to as well. Nate Rose, for me, specifically has something that he shared on his podcast with Creative Control with No Big Deal. And that was something that I was able to share with him that has impacted me and my family. And so that was something that was awesome. But specifically, Eclesso, What Up RG, and Abel. Those three guys, chill. Really chill guys, but also just very personable. Like when I went up to them and dapped them up, and Futuristic, sorry. When I dapped them up, when I talked with them, it didn't feel like they were in a rush. It didn't feel like they just were trying to get me out the way. When I talked to them, they gave me their full attention, and they were actually listening to what I had to say. And I appreciated that so much. I don't want to say that's not what the other artists did or producers did. But I'm talking like these guys in specific were just like, they did it next level. And for me, I just really appreciate those guys because you can tell that what they're doing and what their mission is very real. There's nothing fake about it. Like these people are real, genuine people. And so I just want to shout out those guys who I just mentioned. And you might have heard me say there, so you get to meet artists. That's firstly. Secondly, there's a merch table for the general festival, the Holy Smoke Festival, that's in the lobby where you can get the Holy Smoke Tour t-shirt, which is what I got going on right now. Probably be going on sale soon on the Indie Tribe website. $45. No, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be an ad, but no. There was the general merch section in the lobby for the festival, but then inside the actual concert hall or festival hall, I'll say, in that area, you had merch booths for all the artists. You wanted a t-shirt from John Keith? You could get a t-shirt from John Keith. And actually something I really like, and I have the t-shirt behind me right here. Something I like about the t-shirt from John Keith is on the back of it, it actually says specifically Holy Smoke Festival. So this is only something you can get at Holy Smoke Fest. You will not be able to get this t-shirt anywhere else. That was pretty cool. You had like, you wanted a What Up RG shirt or you wanted something from Heaven on Earth? Go check out the left side. You want Annie Mineo? Go check out the back corner. You want Tori Deshawn, Mowgli, the Iceberg? Hey, man, come right to the back. Miles, man, like I said, merch for days. So Yeah, and I promise you that if there was something for everybody, so if you had money that you wanted to spend on merch, you were bound to find something that you were going to be able to spend your money on, and also you are bound to find a way to be able to support these artists, because that's the bigger thing with merch. And this is something how I feel about just festivals and supporting artists, how strongly I feel about supporting artists in general. You know, you could say $45 or $30 for a t-shirt is too expensive. And reasonably it is. You probably can find a t-shirt for 10 $5. Um, and it's not the worst quality on earth, and it holds up for a long time. But the reason why you spend that money for artists, for me at least, is so different, because I do it to support that artist. I really view it as that. Like, listen, these dudes depend on us being able to support them. Yes, they have labels. Some of them do. Some of them have labels that give them money, and that financially back them. But in general, the merch is one of the easiest ways to support artists. So I love doing that, and that's what I was able to do this weekend with John Keith and with the Holy Smoke Festival in general, and also with Futuristic. So the merch was awesome. Third, I just want to talk about the people at the festival. So the actual regular concert goers and festival goers like me, just being able to talk with the people throughout, like the amount of people, first off, the amount of people that I was able to talk with this weekend was something special. The people that stood out to me specifically, we met. I was able to meet these people from Canada that drove, by the way, drove all the way from Canada. That's crazy. I drove from Houston, mind you, 770 miles, but they drove from Canada. That's insane. But being able to meet them was awesome. Ben was someone that hung out with me and David throughout the entire weekend, and that dude, I mean, solid dude. I love Ben. I'm praying the best for him and just continue to wish him success in whatever he does. And that ultimately that he would glorify God through it, because I mean, that dude was just an awesome guy to get to know, awesome dude to talk with. I was able to talk with this dude on the final day of the festival during No Big Deal set out in the lobby area. And I don't remember what the gentleman's name was. And it was a couple of them, but those three guys were awesome. And there were so many more things and people I got, or sorry, so many other people I was able to talk with. But I got to tell you, it really is the people that make the festival, and the people here are awesome and are definitely a standout for me as far as the festival goes, and the festival experience goes. So that's three. Fourthly, I want to talk about the food at the festival. So how is the food? Is the food good? So Rocketown provides their own food, and they provide some pretty basic stuff like hot dogs and pizza, little tiny like middle school type pizzas. And then they also provide water and ice cream. I was not expecting the ice cream. Personally, I'm staying off the sweets right now. I'm trying to lose weight. But still, they provided ice cream. That was something that was available to you if you wanted it. That was a pretty cool thing. So the food there was okay. I didn't personally get any of that. And then they had some food trucks outside. So on the first day, it was only the Vietnamese banh mi place, and then it was also the hot chicken food truck. And then on the second day, you had a shaved ice truck, you had an ice cream truck, you had the hot chicken truck again, and you had the banh mi truck again. And in general, the food was pretty good. The banh mi I had, the Korean barbecue banh mi, woo-wee. Let me tell you something. That was some fuego, man. Was able to enjoy that while I was actually watching 350 set. And so the food in general, there was something for everybody, and it was pretty dang good. Nothing crazy, but just really solid, really good. You would not go hungry being at this festival. And then the last thing I want to talk about as far as the festival experience is the comfortability. Okay. I'll explain more of this later when I get to the rooms for improvement section. But in general, the comfortability is not that great. Yes, there's plenty of space in the venue, and there's plenty of space to walk around, and that's not really the problem when I say comfortability. But the amount of space for you to sit down personally, as far as like chairs that are available or like platforms that are available to sit down on, is minimal. If you're wanting to sit down, the only places that are available are the floor or outside on the concrete, and or inside on like the skate park area. And those are the only places that were available, like that had genuine capacity to be able to have people sit. In fact, if you go check out the second day of that concert, and you were there, you'll know what I'm talking about. In the back section behind the sound booth, there were a copious amount of people sitting down on the floor. In fact, even in front of the sound booth, where all the majority of the audience was, on the back railing area, there was a ton of people sitting down in between sets. And so the comfortability was not the greatest. But what are you going to do? I mean, it's you're going there for a 12-hour day on the first day, or you're going there for a 10-hour. How long were we there? Because we went, me and my friend David went to Indie Institute first. That started at 1:00. So we were probably there first day for 11 hours. And then we were there second day for 12, 13 hours, just because the day started at 11:30 for VIP door. And they didn't, and I'll talk more about that too. But, so in general, it's very, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can expect there really with it. It is going to be what it's going to be. But the comfortability was not the greatest. And that's really all I have for festival experience. So just if you can remember, the performances were excellent. Definitely are worth it. But the festival experience is what takes it to the next level for me. This festival experience is it's awesome festival experience, especially with the meeting artists, especially with the merch, especially with just the people of this concert. Because here's the thing, the vast majority, I don't know if everybody in there was, but I would say the vast majority of people in there were believers. And to be able to just have brothers and sisters in Christ who come from different backgrounds, who don't really share anything in common outside of the CHH and the unity of Christ, but being able to come together under that banner of Christ and have wonderful conversation and develop great relationships with is something special, and is definitely something I won't be forgetting anytime soon. So that was that's a festival experience, and that's how my festival experience went. So that moves me to my third point. So we've talked about performances, we talked about festival experience, but let's talk about the pros of the festival. And this one I will go through quickly. So as I said, big pro, festival experience. The experience itself is amazing. The fact that I'm able to meet artists is incredible. Second thing I would say is, if you're an artist or you're a producer, this is the perfect place to be able to network. There's so, like I said, they're just walking around in plain day. And there are people with genuine connections in there. There's people with connections to the music business in there. So there's somebody in there for everybody, for an artist to be able to link up with. So great place for an artist. 3, performances are obviously amazing. Performances were top notch, top level. Genuinely some good stuff. And so for me, those were the biggest pros of the festival. I would also say I really enjoyed the Pass the Aux event at the VIP section, but I'm going to save the talking of the VIP section for the VIP section. So those were my pros of the festival. Now let's get into the 4 section. I know this section right here is the section we all dread. We don't like to talk negatively about things, but for me, it's not really me trying to be negative for the sake of being negative. For me, this section is to provide constructive criticism, and also to provide what I saw as areas that can be improved for the festival going on. I hope that this video can somehow make its way to Mowgli the Iceberg, because he handles the logistics arms of the festival, and he's typically the logistics guy for any tribe. And I think just hearing some of this feedback here is pretty important. So yeah, let's talk about where there can be rooms for improvement. The very first thing that stands out to me, and this is, to me, I do not think it can continue like this. I'm just being very honest. The security at this festival was not good. It was just not good. Now, the security guards who were there were good, but the security protocols that this festival maintained were not good. They're not up to snuff. And I don't know if it's because of what the budget allowed, or if it's one of those things where it eats at your bottom line, and so you're just trying to get it out the way. But with security, especially at a high profile Christian event such as this, to just have some of the security protocols lacking from this event was a bit jarring for me. And I'll explain. So one thing that they did have, and really the only thing they had for a security measure, was that if you brought a bag to Holy Smoke, it had to be checked at this counter by the security people. And you might say, was there more to the security, Josh? I'm not even joking you. That was it. That was it. Other than that, the only thing that was really that really security was doing was just walking around, continuing to monitor the venue throughout, and also just monitor the outside lobby area and the outside area as a whole. But outside of that, that's all they did. Nothing else. You might say, well, then Josh, well, why is this such an issue? Well, let me talk about this. At most major sporting events or major events in general, before you can even get into an event, you have to go through a metal detector, or you have to have a wand waved on you. And you might say, why? Because you're not technically allowed to go into an event with a knife. You're technically not allowed to go into an event like that with a firearm. You're just not allowed to do that. That's a taboo thing. But at this festival, if you really wanted to, you could have brought a gun with you to this festival and nobody would have known. You would have never been checked for it. If you wanted to bring a knife with you into this festival, you could have done it. Nobody would have known. You could have stabbed up somebody. Nobody would know. And it would have been a big news headline, and it would have been terrible. It would have ruined the entire festival. And so for me, the security was horrible. I think it was just I don't want to use that such a strong word. I think I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really cannot overemphasize how important this point is for improvement for next year. The security has to be better. Not necessarily the security guards. The security guards who were there were great. The security protocols have to be better. They just have to be. Because I'm telling you, something bad is going to happen at one of these festivals if the security protocols continue the way they are. Something has to change. It just has to. So that for me was a big room for improvement that I saw, the biggest room for improvement. Secondly, another way I would improve the festival is so there were people like me who had VIP. There were people who had general admission. There were people who had badges that said all access, that had guest access. And for the guest access and the all access people, they had a separate room with food. And they had a TV in that room. And on the TV, they actually had a live feed of the concert going on. Well, for us people who are just the fans who don't have these badges, we only have a TV that has the festival lineup and the times on it. In my personal opinion, something that I would like to see going forward at Holy Smoke is I would actually like to see the live feed of the performance that's happening on there. I'm not saying with volume, because I think to put volume on there, then it kind of eliminates the whole entire purpose of going in there. I think you have to incentivize people to go into the playing hall. But I think though for that would tell me, oh crud, that dude's performing, I got to get back in there. And so I just think that's like a small critique I have of something else that I would improve on with the festival, is just providing a TV in the lobby area that has a live feed of the concert that's happened, of what's going on stage. Another thing that I would improve, so this would really be my last thing I want to mention that I see a room for improvement, is offering more options for comfortability. All you really had at this festival, like I said, was a couple of chairs and couches in the lobby, and a couple of high bar stools and high chairs that were just chilling around the lobby area. And you had some chairs in the other area in the main concert hall where the merch people were sitting, or you had people who brought their own chairs. But outside of that, there was nothing really, and it really wasn't that much. And it was definitely not enough to supplement the amount of people that were going into these areas looking for relief on their feet and knees. And so I think next year, I think a big thing that they could do is just bring in chairs for people to sit down in these areas. But also in addition to that, just find maybe incorporating that into you could put that as something you buy. Hey, we're selling these I don't know, I don't want to call it lawn chairs or anything like that, but we're selling these types of chairs if you would like one, and we have a limited supply. But hey, you'd at least get one. You'd be able to sit down and be able to take a load off your feet when you want to. I think that is something that I think can be improved on, or something along those lines could happen going forward. So those are really only the rooms for improvement that I would offer. So I think the one for me that's really non-negotiable, it has to improve, is the security needs to improve. And then two of my other ones that I think are like, they're not deal breakers, but they're definitely pretty important, is the comfortability, and also just providing a live television feed of what's happening on stage to the people that are in the lobby. So those are my rooms for improvement. Now let's get into my fifth point, the VIP experience. Because I know some of you out there probably who were not able to go to the festival probably were wondering about the VIP experience and what all was happening with that. So in general, here's what the VIP experience got you. It got you a meet and greet with any tribe. It got you access to the VIP after party, which included a Pass the Aux event. It included a dance portion that was hosted by The Cove, which was a Christian nightclub in Nashville, hosted with Bats, Aaron Dews, and the other people that are also associated. I forget their names. I just saw them on Creative Control Podcast. I'm so sorry. But they were hosting that. And then a cypher that happened at the very beginning that had incorporated other artists that were not performing at the festival. And yeah, that was great. So that's in general what the VIP experience was. And then also early access to entering into the festival, early VIP doors. So that was what the VIP experience got you. Now, my question that I'm trying to answer for you, and I think the question you're all wanting to know, is the VIP experience at Holy Smoke worth it? So before I answer that question, I want to give a breakdown real quick of some of these things. So in my personal opinion, the VIP experience day one is pretty good. I love the fact, it starts out good. I really love the fact that you get early access, and it's actually genuinely early access. The doors for VIPs, I think, open at 3:30, and then or 3, and then for other people, they open for the regular GA, general admission, it opened up at 4:30. So you get an hour and a half advantage into the venue. I also love the meet and greet with Indie Tribe. It's really quick, but you're able to talk with them for a little bit if you really want to, and you're able to shake their hand and just tell them, hey, thank you guys for throwing this festival, and thank you guys for being you. And then also, I think like I said in the prior part, I really love the Pass the Aux event. I really like the fact that we get access to unreleased music that hasn't been played before. One of my favorites from that whole entire event was that this is not an Ecclesto song he played when he performed on stage at Holy Smoke, but this is something he played only at Pass the Aux. There was this song he had that featured 1K Few, and the 1K Few verse on this song was crazy, insane. I need that song right now. Ecclesto, please drop that song, man. That song was crazy. So, you have that going on, and that's worth it to me, and I really liked it. But here's the thing. So you have the Cove, and I want to shout out the Cove. I really appreciate the Cove, and I love what they're doing. I love their vision, and I love how they're doing it with a purpose of glorifying God, and also trying to serve the local body and serve the community of Christ. And so I really do appreciate their mission. This is not really something I would say is a critique of the Cove as much as it is just of people's stamina. Listen, we as people get tired. And by the time the 10 o'clock came around and the VIP after party is happening, my feet are sore, my back is sore, everything about me. And I'm 27. I'm not that old, but I am old. Listen, I'm old, but I'm not that old. There was a lot more younger people than me at the VIP after party, but still, it's like when that comes around, you're so mentally tired, you're so physically tired, that when you get there, mind you, people did dance and people did have a great time, and I don't want to take away from those people, but what I noticed for a lot of people went over to the vendors and were just shopping at the vendors. A lot of people were just standing around or sitting on the sides and just talking and doing whatever. And so That was actually what I would say is I would say either half or the majority of people were doing at the VIP after party. So for me, I just think the timing of the after party might need to be different. Maybe it needs to happen prior to the festival actually happening, and it's a pre-party, or or it needs to be maybe after the second day the whole entire festival concludes. But I think you're still going to run into the same issue. So I think maybe the timing needs to be different, just because that's where I think you would get all the people being involved in that dance portion, and also in the participation of the coves running of the after party. So the question now becomes, and now that I've said all that to say this, is the VIP experience worth it? Because remember, the VIP experience, I'm going to compare it to GA Tier 2. GA Tier 2, I believe, is a $100 ticket for 2-day festival access. But for, and it could be more, I could be off there. But for VIP Tier 3, it's $250. So this could be literally, like, your decision on if you buy VIP or general admission could be a difference of $80 to $100. It really, and that's not something to laugh at in this economy. So I want to be able to provide you with the answer that to best help and assist you, and also with the best information to be able to help you inform your next decision as you make it for next year's Holy Smoke. And my answer to, if somebody were to ask me, would you do VIP again? Is it real worth it? I would say I don't think it's worth it with the way it's currently being done. I would next year, whenever they announce it, I'm going to go general admission if it continues on that way. And here's my biggest reasons why. Firstly, one of the biggest things they sell you on with this is a meet and greet with Indie Tribe. Cool. No, that's awesome. But you know what's wrong with this? And why this is actually not a VIP perk? Because yes, your meet and greet is more intimate with Indie Tribe. Like, it's forced. Like, you actually have to meet Indie Tribe. That's a part of the VIP. But do you remember what I told you back at the festival experience? How all the artists are walking around and you can say what's up to these artists at any time? You could just meet and greet with the artists when they're walking around. Like, I was able to you could have meet and greeted with Mowgli at any time. You could have done that with John Keith. You could have done that with No Big Deal. You could have done that with so many people. Now, No Big Deal was a little bit harder to get to. And I think just because I think he was so busy with the whole entire festival. And really the only time I saw No Big Deal and I was able to talk to him was at the VIP after party. But still, I'd imagine if you really wanted to and you sought him out, you probably could have found him at the festival. Same with Tori Deshawn. Tori Deshawn was in the back. Like, you could go and talk with Tori Deshawn, meet and greeted him, and actually probably spent more time with him there than you would have at the Indie Tribe meet and greet. And so I think just from the purpose of the meet and greet, I don't think the meet and greet is anything special, because anybody in GA could meet and greet the artist. And in fact, not only do you get to meet and greet the artist of Indie Tribe, but you get to meet and greet as a person who goes to the festival in general under a general admission ticket, any of those artists that come and perform at that festival. And that's awesome. And that's something that I hope that I think needs to continue to happen. But as far as the VIP experience and how they sell you on the meet and greet, I don't think that is actually really anything special. And I don't think that's really anything that's exclusive to a VIP ticket package. So I would say that's one of my gripes. But I think, hey, it is what it is. My second thing, they sell you on the VIP after party. Now, I had already mentioned to you about how it was tired and everything, but still, there was something special. You get this access to some vendor clothing, and also, there's other artists there talking, and you can have more intimate conversations with them. But here's an issue. I was talking with somebody at that festival, plenty of other people, and I noticed this too. So if you were a VIP, you had a purple wristband, and if you were general admission, you had a green wristband. There were plenty of people in that VIP after party that had a green wristband. There were people who I talked to the next day who said, oh yeah, we were general admission, but what we did is we hung around in the lobby area, because you're not forced to leave. They're not going to force you to leave the Rocketown venue if you weren't VIP. You don't have to leave the lobby area. But guess what? They stuck around so long in the lobby area that they were able that by the time that the VIP after party gets like an hour in, guess what? They were able to just walk in. And that kind of goes to my other thing with the whole security thing and checking. Uh, there were some times where you would get checked and there would be a person checking to see, make sure you had a wristband before entering into the playing hall, where all the artists were performing. But I'll tell you what, I saw plenty of people who didn't have wristbands. I saw plenty of people who had GA wristbands in places that were supposed to be VIP. So I think, like I said, unless security improves, like really, what's the word here? What is disincentivizing me from just acting with complete malice and just not caring if I have a VIP ticket and just going to these areas without caring? You see what I'm saying? So that unless that's more strictly enforced, I also don't think I think that's also another big problem. And then a third thing I want to say is the early access. So remember, they sell you on the early access. Well, the first day it's genuinely early. It's an hour and a half early. That is significantly earlier. That is something that is totally worth it. But on the second day, it's only 15 minutes prior to when GA gets in. That's not that different. That's not that different. And also another thing too to take into consideration is, remember, prior to the entire festival starting, they have this thing called Indie Institute. During Indie Institute, they're selling merch for the festival. You don't have to be a VIP to go to Indie Institute. So GA people were getting access to merch that technically VIPs should have had first access to before anybody. So my thing is not to dissuade them from continuing to do it like that, but my thing is to say, hey, if you're a VIP, if the whole thing of VIP is I get early access to a stage and a lot of other things, but you don't really get that much early access, or you only get early access for one of the 2 days, is it really worth it? No, it really isn't. And so for me, that's all to say this. I don't think VIP is worth it unless they do something completely different with the VIP experience. I think something they could do, like I said, hold an earlier party, but I also think it could be something like, I don't know. I think a big thing for me would be, hey, just like you gave those all access badges and those GA badges, or the guest badges, separate rooms, there needs to be a VIP room that only VIPs can go in through. And I'm not saying there needs to be food in there. I'm telling you, there just needs to be a room like that exists at the festival. I think that would offer plenty of incentive for it to go get it, because it has comfortability, it has any of those things that I mentioned that could be improved. Dude, I think that could be something to add to the VIP experience that could potentially make it worth it. But right now, as it is, with the way it's being enforced, with all the other optics involved with the VIP experience, I don't generally think it's worth it. So that's my answer for the VIP experience. So far, we've covered the performances, we've covered the festival experience, we've covered the pros of the festival, the rooms for improvement of the festival, and whether the VIP experience is worth it. Now, this gets to my last point, and this will be the point I spend the least amount of time on, and that is, should you, fellow listener, go to Holy Smoke next year? And my answer to this question is an emphatic yes. Absolutely. If you have the opportunity and the financial means to be able to go to Holy Smoke next year, if they host it, go to that festival without a doubt. Even though I disagree, even though I wouldn't do the VIP experience again, I don't necessarily regret going and doing the VIP experience this year. Because like I said, a big thing for me is I want to be able to support artists and support them financially, especially independent artists such as Indie Tribe and the festivals and events that they throw. So I'm happy I spent the money. I just wouldn't do it next year, because I think if you're going to offer something and you're trying to say that we're going to make it worth it to you, and it's not worth it, I don't think you should do it. So like I said, I would definitely go next year to Holy Smoke Fest. I would do it under a general admission ticket. Hey, I don't want to dissuade anybody out there from buying VIP, but I think if money is going to be something you're thinking about, but you're also thinking maybe the experience could be worth it, I'm telling you, go with the general admission. It's just as good as the VIP ticket, and I think you'll just have a heck of a time out there at Holy Smoke Fest. Listen, Holy Smoke Fest is truly holy in this regard. It is set apart. It is something that is so unique and so different from any other experience I've had in Christendom. It is different from Passion. It is different from Winter Jam. It is different from any other big fest that you can name. It is raw, it is organic, and it is natural. It does not feel forced, it is not cold, it is not mechanical. It is something, and it's not to diss those other festivals. I'm not saying that's what they are. But I'm telling you, when I go to Holy Smoke Fest, it makes me feel warm inside. It makes me feel warm inside knowing that it's me and my brothers in Christ and sisters in Christ worshiping the Lord, glorifying God, having a good time together, but also being able to listen to artists who we really enjoy and who are glorifying God and who are genuinely out there with a purpose and mission to be able to disciple and save others. And so the question for me of should you go next year is emphatically yes. If you have the opportunity, go. Well, that's all I have for us today for Holy Smoke Festival, the Holy Smoke Festival recap. As I said, this is just the first episode of Josh's Review Corner. There will be more episodes coming in the future, not necessarily of Holy Smoke Fest, but like as I said, as I read books, I'll give you a book review. As I listen to Christian hip hop albums, I'll give you album reviews. And if there's any other cultural happenstances in Christendom or in the CHH space, I will also be providing you with that content. So guys, I thank you for listening. If you went to Holy Smoke Festival this year, please leave a comment with what your favorite moment from Holy Smoke Festival was. I would love to hear it. And then also, if you saw me at Holy Smoke Festival, tell me you saw me. I think that would be pretty cool too. And let me know who you were. So thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.